Hello and welcome. I'm Ariana Droz, and you're listening to Reprint, brought to you by the Temple News. This is the podcast that gives readers an in-depth review about stories that we've printed in this week's edition. Today I'm sitting with features editor Madeline Farrow and assistant features editor Ben DePalma to talk about their stories about the Cherry On Initiative, School Spirit, and Temple's new furry friend. I have the features team here with me today. We have Madeline and Ben on the pod today. So we're going to talk about two stories that you put out in this week's print. Do you want to give a brief summary of the Cherry on Thursdays story?
So the Cherry on Thursday story was basically about this initiative that student leadership and engagement put out. They're kind of part of Temple University as a whole. They're not a student organization. And it basically changed Cherry on Fridays, which was, wearing Temple gear, showing off your school spirit on Fridays, usually coincided with pep rallies. It changed it to Thursdays because they basically got data from the registrar that said students actually are more on campus on Thursdays than Fridays. But the change was implemented August 28th, and I don't know if students will agree, but I just haven't been seeing much Temple gear on Thursdays. So we basically wrote this piece to see, do people know about the initiative? Are they actively, engaging with it? And then how do they feel about Temple school spirit in general? Because we're kind of a city school, and our football team, I think, plays a lot into our school spirit. And as people know, we're not the hottest right now. So it was just kind of like a general finger of the pulse on Temple school spirit and whether or not people have heard about this before.
Yeah.
I personally did not hear about this initiative until we did this story, to be honest. I didn't know it existed. I was surprised, actually, that a lot of the people I talked to did know what it was. But, yeah, overall, I think most of the people that I know in my own life don't know about this or really have a whole lot of school pride when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So this comes out of the student leadership and engagement team, right? How is the student leadership and engagement team promoting this on campus? Because as you both mentioned, I also have not seen this initiative or a lot about it until after I read this piece. Were you able to talk to anyone from the team or see what kind of promotional things that they're doing for this?
Yeah, so I spoke with Barbara Perlman, who's the senior director for SLE. She's very sweet, and they actually were doing a lot of stuff that I just hadn't heard about, I'll be completely honest. This is kind of all with the overarching, Temple's a huge school, and a lot of times, the university just does stuff that flies under the radar, right? But with something like this, it is about getting students engaged. So you, like Ben was saying, if a lot of people don't know about it, that's kind of the whole point. Anyways, but so they've done a couple things. Number one, with the new bookstore in Paley Hall, there's a whole section called Cherry On. I don't know if you guys have gone into the bookstore and noticed it, which makes sense. Obviously, we have a new bookstore. They want people to buy merch, sales, money. This is a university. It's a profit. It's a business. And then they've also been doing this thing on Temple's Instagram where they've, it's called Find the Cherry Thursdays, where on Thursdays they, hide a plush cherry, around campus. And students, a little cherry stuffed animal. Oh. And they go around on campus and they, give, a limerick sort of, hint about where it is. And then, I didn't know about it either. And then she said in the future they're also planning to work with the dining hall to, I assume it's just going to be a bunch of cherry stuff. And kind of, work with them. The initiative has only existed for, a little over a month. So I think there's still a lot they're working on doing. But it does just kind of go back to that, it's all about students being engaged. Are students actually engaging with this? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How would you each describe the level of school spirit at Temple University according to your own, experiences or things that you've seen?
So I love Temple. I have, huge school pride, but I feel that's just kind of, a personality thing where I'm like, I'm not going to go to a university and ever crap on it. Like, to an extent, right? Like, but I love Temple. I love being in a city school. Obviously, there are things, like, I would change about it, but I think it's a great university. I do have to say, I think in general as a school, just thinking about my friends who go to, like, SEC schools and, like, state schools like Penn State, we maybe are a little bit more, like, low-key and, like, God forbid, nonchalant about, like, our school pride, because it's just Temple has never really had that, like, I love Temple energy. You know what I mean? I feel like when I do profiles on people, they're always like, I loved Temple, but maybe they're not just, like, as vocal and, like, outwardly, like, apparent about it. And then a lot of my friends, like, have said, like, yeah, school pride is associated with your football team, and we are not good. And that's a big deal. When people don't go to games, like, that directly affects kind of, like, how they feel about the school. Like, football is a major part of, like, American universities. And I think when you do think about, like, SEC schools, Penn State, it's because they have great football programs, and that's just, like, the reality of university. So I do think it has a lot to do with sports. Yeah.
I feel like when you walk around campus, or more when you walk around, like, other schools' campuses, like Penn State is one that I think of, like, people wear a lot of their school gear. You don't really see that as much at Temple. And I think that people definitely do, like, like you were saying, definitely do have school pride, but we just don't really express it in the same way that, I guess, like, big state schools might, where, like, going out to the football games and like, wearing the gear around campus, and then, like, after you graduate, just kind of, like, still having a lot of, you know, the school pride, like, basically what you were talking about. I think that part of it, though, is just the fact that we're a city school, and, like, we have, our campus is, in a way, it's partly just, like, the city itself, and it's not, like, one centralized location like Penn State would be, I feel like. So we kind of have, like, more of, like, Temple students are more prideful in Philadelphia culture as opposed to, like, just the school itself.
Yeah. Like, a good point one of the girls, Elise Harvey, when I was talking to her, she's like, because I'm not at Penn State in the middle of Happy Valley, like, my weekends aren't just, like, what is Temple doing? It's, like, what's going on in Philly. Mm-hmm. So I do agree. I agree with Ben. I think it's, like, we have Philly pride, but, like, Temple is just a small blip in the city. So, like, a lot of people, they're happy to go here, but it's not specifically about, like, what the university has to offer. It's about, like, what Philly has to offer.
So, yeah, I think those are all good points. But I mean, technically, our football team is a winning team as of Saturday. Technically, we are a winning team. And also, I feel like when people graduate Temple and then they become successful, or, like, they get into their career fields, I feel like they get so proud of, like owls are everywhere. Like, I've heard that all the time, especially I think with Klein. I don't know if that's, like, a Klein thing specifically.
I would agree,
Klein alumni are so proud of Temple.
Yeah.
Like, it's everywhere. Like, I don't know if you remember that movie that came out. I think it's called Intergalactic. And there's, like, Temple tees everywhere because one of the main characters went to Temple.
Oh,
like,
really?
I didn't know that. It's, like, just little stuff like that. And, like, yeah, Temple owls are everywhere for sure. So this isn't something that you directly mention in your article, but it's kind of something that you alluded to in one of your earlier answers. How do you think that the cost of, like, university merchandise at the school store affects, like, people wearing stuff? Like, you mentioned that, like, when you go to Penn State, you'll see people wearing, like, Penn State gear. But do you think that, like, people are kind of turned off to buying things at our store because of the prices or anything specific?
Yeah, there are, like, two things that come to mind. And obviously, like, Ben, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. But, like, I think one of the things is, like, we were voted most fashionable university.
I heard about that.
I think a lot of people might not wear... Second, okay. Second, it's fine. That was one of my thoughts, is that, like, our fashionable people just don't really want to wear merch that often. Mm. And then the other thought is, like, yeah, merch is expensive. Although Temple is not the most economical university out there, I do think a lot of people here, at least in, like, my circle, they're not, like, they're just middle-class people, and buying a bunch of school merch is, like, very much a luxurious thing.
Yeah, like $40 water bottle.
100%. And being like, I'm going to buy all this merch, I think it, again, even though we are winning now, it ties into football because it's like, you buy merch to wear to things. Like, if you're not going to wear it on your day-to-day life, like, you're going to buy it to wear to a football game. If you don't go to a football game, what's the point of buying the merch in the first place? So, yeah, I would say, like, from my experience, buying merch is expensive. And if you're already, like, a working college student, that's probably just not going to be on your radar at all. And then if you're a working college student who is fashionable and, like, you tie in, like, the thrift scene at Temple and all of that kind of stuff, it's like buying new merch isn't, on the top of your to-do list.
Yeah. I mean, I think I saw a hoodie for like $80 in the school store. I can't see anybody dropping $80 on a hoodie, but yeah, I mean, you pretty much said everything else.
There are some great, I don't know if y'all have ever gone on Depop or eBay, there's some great vintage Temple merch. We had cool logos. Yeah. The old owl, there's also, we used to have a logo that looked like the Coliseum or something, and it was like Temple because it was
like Temple Rome?
Yeah, almost like imagine like old like Greek style like architecture. Yeah. And that was just the logo. It was just like this big Coliseum like temple. Yeah. Cuz temple, and it was sick.
Do you think sports are an important aspect of fostering school spirit at a school like Temple?
Yeah, growing up in the Philadelphia area, I definitely think that like Philly fans are definitely some of the most like proud fans in the country for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys love your sports though.
Yeah.
But it does. I do wish that like Philadelphians would like care as much about like Temple football as they do for the other sports in the city. Yeah. I think that would definitely help with the whole pride thing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. The publication of this piece was quite timely because we're gearing up for homecoming and family weekend this coming weekend. So how do you think that this Cherry on Thursdays or this Cherry on initiative could affect or be affected by what's going to happen, whatever happens this weekend?
Yeah. So we're playing Navy, so that's tough. We don't need to go too far into sports. Like, that's Colin and Jacob and Sienna's area of expertise. But it's going to be tough. I think, realistically, like, most people who go out for homecoming, like, I'll be tailgating that day. I don't know about you. It's not because I think our team's going to win. It's because, I want to show support and I want to have a good time and, like, tailgating's fun. I think it is a two-way street, like school spirit. Mm-hmm. I think there is something to be said about, like, playing for a school who maybe you feel like doesn't have the strongest school spirit. I don't know what that feels like. I'm personally not, like, an offensive lineman or tight end for Temple football. Not my vibe. But, like, I think there's something to be said about being, like, if students had more school spirit, if the stadium, like, did fill up, if it wasn't so empty on game day, like, maybe our players would feel more support and, like, energy and, like, not to be corny, but, like, we could totally, like, high school football movie this, like, Friday Night Lights, Saturday Night Lights, and just be like, yes, school spirit, let's do it. So I hope the initiative, I hope it gets more engagement. I hope more people show school pride. Like, I love Temple. But I would want it to be, like, natural and organic and not, like, a forced sort of thing. Yeah.
I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about the Barkley story. So, Ben, do you want to give a brief summary of what that was? And, who you talked to?
So Barkley is the school's first therapy. They call her a comfort dog. And she's 4, I might be wrong about that, 4 months old, okay. I think. But yeah, she's just a little puppy. She's still training, and right now I talked to her trainer, which was Chris Willard, was her name, and she lives with Barkley, and she was basically saying that she's like a little kid, like she's teething, and she'll like go into the bushes and like grab pizza out and walk around with it.
Classic Temple student.
Yeah.
She loves Maxie's.
But yeah, her purpose is like to just be a therapy dog for students during a finals week, and also for the police officers on the force.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's just really cute, and it was good to meet her and good to meet Chris Willard as well.
Cool. So you mentioned she's meant to be a therapy dog for TUPD.
Yeah.
And in your article you mentioned also that like students recognize her when she's walking around.
Right.
So how do you think that her presence could affect like the Temple community as a whole, or especially when we're talking about like school spirit and like trying to facilitate that? How do you think that like she could kind of play a part in that?
Yeah, I think that she's great for school spirit because students, I know when I was walking with Chris and Barkley, students were coming up and they were like, oh my God, there she is, like there's Barkley, she's so cute, and they were petting her. So I think it's just good for students to like have, to be able to see her on campus, and it's kind of like, to feel like the school like is doing something to show that they care about the students and their mental health, I guess. But yeah, she's really cute. So
Barkley isn't the first therapy dog for a police department. I think Philly PD, you said, has one also.
Yeah.
So how do you think that this trend kind of like speaks to how the university and maybe like society at large is like viewing mental health, and also the way that like we think about police matters?
Yeah. I think it is a really interesting trend because in the past you've seen dogs used on police forces not for de-escalation, but for bomb sniffing purposes or to catch perpetrators. But it's interesting to see how like the police forces, there was one, you mentioned it recently, in Philadelphia, they introduced a new therapy dog. It is interesting to see how they're kind of focusing more on de-escalation, I guess, with the new dogs. And I do think that's an important trend, and I hope that continues.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you both for joining me on today's pod.
Of course.
It was lovely to have
Thanks for having
two
us.
people. Yeah, thanks for coming. Okay. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Reprint. You can find these stories and many more on our website at www.temple-news.com. You can also follow us on all of our social media at The Temple News. See you next time.